Hello, my name is Miranda Rowley, and my project is about how visual aids can help improve participation for children with developmental delays. So, just to kind of start off with some background, kids with developmental delays usually have a harder time understanding what's expected of them in the classroom. And because of that, it can be hard for them to stay engaged or follow routines, and that can sometimes turn into frustration or behavior issues. So teachers really need strategies that makes things more clear and more predictable in the classroom. And that's where visual supports really help. For my project, I kind of narrowed it down to three main questions: how visual supports affect participation and behavior, which types seem to work best, and how they can help kids become more independent. After going through a bunch of research studies, there was actually a pretty clear pattern that showed up. Visual supports really help students understand expectations better, stay more engaged, and also become more independent. Across the 7 studies I looked at, there was basically three big takeaways. The first was improved behavior. When visual supports were used in the classroom, students were generally more on task and there were fewer problem behaviors. In one study, students actually stayed focused longer just from having the visuals in their classroom, which is really interesting. The second thing was increased independence. So instead of constantly needing teacher reminders, students could actually use things like schedules or first then boards to figure out what they were supposed to be doing next on their own. And then the third thing was better understanding. Visual supports just make expectations a lot more clear, especially for students who struggle with verbal instructions. And they also kind of help with communication too, because students can use them to better understand what's going on or even show what they need. Some of the research also pointed out that the design of the visual support actually matters a lot. So, simpler, more organized visuals usually work better, especially for students that have autism. And then more interactive ones, like digital visuals or ones that involve movement, can help keep students even more engaged. There are a few common types of visual supports teachers use, like visual schedules, which show how the day is going to go, choice boards, where students can pick between options, first then boards, which basically show first then that, and timers, which help students see how much time that they have left. This really helps, especially during transitions. For teachers, one of the biggest things is just consistency. Visual supports really only work well if they're used throughout the whole day, not just sometimes here and there. And they're actually pretty easy to put in place, which makes them really easy to start and keep up. Another thing that came up is that they don't just help students with disabilities. They can actually help all students in the classroom. They make the classroom more structured and easier to follow in general, and they can help reduce behavior issues, especially during transitions. There are a couple limitations, though. The studies I looked at were somewhat limited in number, and most of them focused just on younger kids. And also, not every study that I looked at used visual supports in the exact same way. So they were a bit different there. But overall, the research really points to visual supports being a very simple but really effective way to help students stay engaged, understand expectations, and build independence in the classroom. Thank you for listening.